back to another episode. Welcome to Divulge Talk Show. My name is Mo Mabandi and welcome to yet another episode. If you are joining me for the first time, my name is Mo Mabandi. I'm the founder and the host of this talk show. This is basically a platform or a show where we have conversations, unfiltered conversations about contemporary times, topics that are considered taboo by society. And yeah, basically that's what the show is all about. Speaking of taboo, today we're going to be talking about toxic femininity. You might have come across the term toxic masculinity, which I will be talking about in the last episode of the season. However, today we're going to be talking about toxic femininity, and I just decided why not have a conversation about it. So, as usual, defining terms is very important for me. If you've been following me up throughout the years, you know that whenever I'm talking about a topic, I like to define just to give an understanding of the audience, just so that even myself, I understand the topic better and explain it better as I talk about it in the video. So, toxic femininity, Schrader defines it as working for the good of others at the expense of oneself. In order to support people around them, women who exhibit stereotypically feminine attributes like passivity, empathy, sensuality, patience, tenderness, and receptivity lead to persons forgetting their mental or physical needs. Again, toxic femininity refers to the narrow definition of womanhood that makes a woman feel degendered by ordinary human behaviors or neutral preferences. Toxic femininity promotes the tacit acceptance of dominance and violence in order to live. Women do this in order to maintain the value that the patriarchy has taught us is dependent on our capacity to tolerate violent dominance. Lastly, toxic femininity often stems from an unconscious desire to feel valued or accepted within a patriarchal society. So I gave all these definitions to really make you understand. I mean, I needed them because I remember I had an idea what toxic femininity is all about, but I wasn't very sure what the topic really entails. And I decided to just look at different definitions, and that made me understand better. So, from everything I've read, it's basically women doing what they need to, okay, women doing things in society and ignore their feelings. In other words, they're doing these things whether they like it or not, and for the most they don't want to do certain things. And I spoke about the passivity, empathy. I feel like women by nature are supposed to be like that, but I feel like sometimes toxicity comes in when we now have to become that, when we don't want to or when we don't have to. But because I'm a woman, I need to be feminine, I just have to be passive all the time. So what is toxic femininity? Toxic femininity is when women feel the need to impress society regardless of how negatively they feel emotionally and mentally. So it does, society has this thing where you just have to do it. I mean, like I said, I'm going to talk about toxic masculinity, where sometimes some of these things that we feel or the things that we do, it is out of our comfort zone, or it is unnecessary, or it makes us feel somehow, but we just find ourselves doing it because that's what society expects, or that's what stereotypical standard expect of us to do. Toxic femininity is when women feel that they're restricted to being themselves to match stereotypical standards. For example, especially in a religious setup, women are not allowed to wear pants or trousers, or women are forced to cover their heads, which is not very common nowadays, but I know in certain countries or religions or societies it's very common. And we don't have to do that. I feel like it's toxic femininity because cover your head when you feel like you want to cover your head. And the whole issue of trousers, I feel like that is still an ongoing thing. I know that there are certain setups that women are not supposed to wear pants or trousers because of cultural beliefs. For example, during like a lobola setup, or um, a funeral, those kind of things. I feel like personally, I do believe that it's not necessary, or how do I put it? I don't know. I just feel like wearing pants in certain, yeah, in those kind of setups, perhaps it's not good. Perhaps it is good. I don't know. Maybe it's actually toxic femininity. You let me know in the comment section. But I feel like in a general lifestyle, even if it's at church, even if it's at the mall, visiting your family, friends, whatsoever, toxic femininity is when you feel restricted because now you want to match the standard, because now I want to be accepted by my church society, so let me wear a dress. But honestly, deep down, I want to wear pants and just rock whatever that I want. So that's toxic femininity. Basically, the bottom line is doing something as a woman when you don't really feel like you have to. I hope this makes sense. But yeah, that's basically what toxic femininity is. Toxic femininity is when women behave in ways that are supposed to please men or get men's attention, disregarding their feelings. This is because as women, we've been attuned, or we've been told, we've been affirmed that you need to behave in a certain way to get a man's attention. And sometimes maybe you will lose yourself in the long run. There's so many, I think, especially when women are out there with, exposing their bodies, it's a belief that you get men's attention or you get accepted by men because they think you're beautiful. That's toxic femininity. You don't have to do that. And sometimes you're actually ignoring your feelings. You know that I don't feel like doing this, but because society has told me that in order for me to be accepted by men, I need to expose my body. Or society has told me that in order to be accepted by men, I should always wear like long skirts and dresses and not wear pants at all, of which that's not the case. There's so many other aspects or elements that draw a man towards a woman, and at times it's none of the things that I mentioned. I think losing yourself in the long run, like I mentioned, it's always important just to be yourself. And it's toxic for you to change yourself, to deprive yourself of your happiness because of what society expects of you as a woman. Okay, toxic femininity is also when alpha or confident women are told to tone it down because their personalities do not align with societal submissive standards. I know that as women, biblically, out of the Bible, we are expected to be submissive. I do not dispute that. But there are certain women that are just outspoken. There are certain women that their confidence is so loud. I can take, for example, I'm not a loud, confident person. I can walk in a room, you would tell that, okay, she's confident, but I tend to be reserved, yeah? And then there's some women that are confident, but they are loud. They are everywhere. Of course, to a certain extent, it can be too much, and probably somehow they need to be reprimanded. But I feel like sometimes personalities are different, and some women show off their personalities differently because they were born in that way, and it's okay. Now, when it comes to society or stereotypical standards, toxic femininity comes in when now those women are told to keep quiet. So you are a very confident person, you're an outspoken person by nature, but then you are told to shut up. That is toxic femininity. Yes, you can still be a submissive woman in your alpha personality. You can still be a submissive woman in your confident personality. So there's a fine line between that. I mean, I'm not disputing the fact that there are certain women, like even myself, I'm just like, hold on a bit, child, chillax. And then there's such a woman like, I mean, I can give an example of this lady that I've been following for years. Her name is Nisi T. I would definitely put like a video of her. She's an alpha woman. She's outspoken. She's like a powerhouse. And her femininity is so out there in a very healthy way. Like, she's not toxic. She's not. But then the toxicity comes when now people tell her, Nisi, shut up because you are being too loud. But no, she's an alpha woman. She's a confident woman, and therefore she needs to be. It doesn't mean that she doesn't find her ways of being submissive in her area of life. if that makes sense. Toxic femininity. Okay, so I'm just going to read something here. Women portray passiveness, selflessness, nurturance, compliance, submissiveness, or docility, cooperation, sensitivity, politeness, empathy, and compassion, and home and family orientated values when they become poisonous and when you magnify them while repressing your demands or feel compelled to express them. To be clear, possessing any of these qualities is completely acceptable. Now, all of these qualities that I've mentioned are expected of a woman to have. A woman is supposed to be nurturing. I think by nature, God gave this because we are meant to be mothers. So if you've got a child, you need to have a nurturing personality even before you have a child. It's part of our nature. Selflessness, compliance, submissiveness, those are part of a woman's attribute and nature. There is nothing wrong with these attributes, but it is toxic when the woman's feelings are now ignored, because it's not always that I have to be selfless. Sometimes I need to be selfish, especially in situations where I can see that my mental health is at stake, I'm being treated unequally, I'm being abused. There is no need for me to be selfless in that. That is where toxic femininity comes. So guys, in a nutshell, it's just basically a woman doing something that she is expected to do, but then at times she's doing it out of her will, out of her comfort zone, and where sometimes she feels like this is not my place to behave in this way. And I'm really hoping that this conversation is not getting out of context, because I'm really trying my best to explain based on the research that I found about toxic femininity. It is something I'm still learning along the way, but I'm just hoping that what I'm saying makes sense. But guys, if you do feel like you have got other points or other if you have other perspectives regarding it, please comment. Please let me know what is your definition or what is your perspective regarding toxic femininity. Okay. Again, toxic femininity is when women are forced to abide by stereotypical beliefs or values which at times are unhealthy and can lead to depression and other health conditions. This is something I briefly mentioned. Sometimes as women, we are expected, I can give an example, like, for example, women that are being abused by their husbands. So, especially, I'm going to speak about the Black African society because I'm Black and I'm African, where this woman is being beaten by her husband all the time. She reports, she complains, and they tell her that's what marriage is. Be strong. That's how men are. Stay. That is a full-blown toxic femininity. I'm not gonna say me. This woman is being abused, and society saying stay. Society saying be strong. Uyimbogodo, yes, of course, but then there are certain things to accept and certain things not to accept. So it's toxic because now it's leading to depression. It's leading to my health conditions. This woman can die. So these are some of the aspects or elements I'm trying to make sense so that you guys can see where I'm going about with toxic femininity. The reason why I keep like not being sure if I'm saying the right thing is because I don't want it to seem as if I'm attacking men, or I'm attacking certain societal beliefs, which I feel some are healthy and good and they make sense, but some are not, and hence I'm really trying to explain everything. Also, toxic femininity is when women are told to accept control and toxic dominance without questioning anything. Women have feelings and a thinking capacity. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we're looking at men and women. Men, husbands, are believed to be the head of the house. Amazing, good, I believe that. That is amazing. However, God creating a man to be the head of the house and still saying that a woman is the helper does not put her on mute. She's there. So as a husband, you are the head of the house and you decide this and this and this. She's there to guide. She's there to just to contribute something. Say, that's a good idea, but what if we take this route so that by the time we get to our goal, we're not burned out. You understand? That is how it's supposed to be. But then in certain societal standards, men tend to be so controlling that their wives, whether she likes it or not, she has to comply. And that is toxic femininity. And hopefully that makes sense and that does not come across as attacking men, because the goal here is not to attack men. Like I said, I will talk about masculine toxicity and just to, divulge on that. The last one is toxic femininity is when society disregards a woman's choice of wanting to get married or have children. It is not everyone or every woman who wants to get married. It is not every woman who wants to have children. Now, this one is a huge deal because society worldwide, now this doesn't matter if you're American, Brazilian, from the Netherlands, South African, Zambian, from Africa, it doesn't matter. The entire world believes that a woman should grow up. Some don't even believe that she needs to go to school, but let's just say she goes to school. By a certain age, she needs to be married, she needs to have kids, etc., etc., etc. I'm 25, and it's an obvious case that everyone who is around me is just looking forward to. So, who are you dating, or who are you with, and when are you getting married, and all those kind of things. It's okay. It's a societal standard. It's stereotypes, and it's up to me to decide whether I want it to affect me or not. Because the last thing I want to do is pressurize myself or jump into something that will burn me in the long run and then I regret. So, but that's not the point. Toxic femininity is when society is not fine with women choosing not to get married. Let me say this. I actually have a friend of mine since we were in high school, and this is not something that started now because she's in her 20s. She's always said she doesn't want to get married. And in her case, she doesn't come from a broken family. Her parents are still together, healthy family. She's got siblings, she's got a mom and dad, everything thriving, good. It's different from someone who comes from a broken family. For example, my parents separated when I was at a very young age. And it's easier for someone like me to discard marriage and just be like, I'm good. But it's her choice. And I feel like we need to be okay with that, because maybe she doesn't have the capacity to commit. Maybe she doesn't have the commitment attributes to be with someone forever. Maybe she just feels like she needs just to be alone, thrive in her career. And it has to be okay, guys. We have to get to a point where it has to be okay. Same applies with men, but today is not about men, it's about women. And women that don't want to have children. So this one is a very tricky one. It's trickier than not wanting to get married, because now you could be married and then now your partner wants children but you don't want children. But of course, that's what people always say, you need to have these kind of conversations before you get married, etc., etc. Fine, but there are certain people that want to get married. I was actually listening to a podcast, I think 2 weeks back, and this lady, let me just quickly read. Okay, so she said that she does not intend to have children because they might take away the happiness she has. In other words, she does not have the capacity to give or love in that aspect. She's married, but she doesn't want to have kids because she feels she's happy. She's got a happy marriage. She loves her partner, but the reason why she feels like her children will take away that happiness because maybe she doesn't have the capacity to actually love, in that way, in that manner. So toxic femininity is what it's all about. It's a very broad topic. I mean, it would have been interesting if I had other guests on the show, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't consider it. But let me know what you guys think about this topic. I mean, it's a very tricky topic, and I'm just like I'm just hoping that I really made sense. I really made sense, because I'm a woman and I'm not trying to attack men. The goal of this is not to attack men, but just for you as my audience to see and understand what I'm actually talking about regarding this topic. So let me know, guys, what you think, or what are your thoughts, what is your perspective regarding toxic femininity. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.